welcome to Studio 5. We have many new things this week. New music from the Grammy-winning rocker Switchfoot, a new book to connect your fitness to your faith for a lasting life change, and a new movie about man's best friend. As we line those new things up, let's begin this week's look at the top 5 headlines in uplifting entertainment. At number 5.
Mahershala.
The Golden Globe Awards are handed out in Beverly Hills Sunday. And
the most wins on the night, 3 for Green Book, the film about race relations in the South in the 60s. It won Best Comedy or Musical and also Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali.
I have to thank my wife, my mother, and my grandmother. I thank you for your prayers. I've needed each and every one of them.
Now, this is the book I was telling you about. Now, sometimes you guys are staying in the same hotel, sometimes you're not.
Green Book is in reference to what was called the Negro Motorist Green Book.
It was a travel guide for African Americans during the 60s who would be traveling in the South.
It lists all the places coloreds could stay down south.
Got a special book for that?
at number 4, and also in Beverly Hills. This is what happens when the president of Biola University and Justin Bieber just happen to be waiting for their cars at the same time and the same place. The Biebs serenades his wife and then pulls in the Christian college president for a dance and a few selfies. The chance meeting quickly becomes the buzz for Biola University students and graduates on social media. And so begins this week's countdown. We'll get to number 3 in just a moment. The new year brings some new music and a new tour for the Grammy-winning rock band Switchfoot. We're sitting down with brothers Tim and John Foreman, but let's begin with a look at the single Voices from their project Native Tongue. The single that we've heard thus far, you speak of voices and voices sort of drowning out others. Tell us about the story behind how this all came together.
Every day, every moment is filled with voices for me. You know, I'm sure for all of us,
Yeah.
right? And every possible action, there's a voice that would say, no, that's a good idea, try that, you know? For me, this song kind of picks up the idea that the clarity is not found in the screaming voices that are coming at us from all angles, but rather the still small voice that's speaking the truth.
Now the new project is called Native Tongue.
That's correct.
Describe it. We've heard at least one song from it. Describe the project if you could describe it.
Yeah, so I feel like we as a species have forgotten our native tongue, that we are commonly driven to this place where fear and hatred begin to be the common vernacular that is spoken. And we are continually drawing lines and boundaries, defining the we, the they, the we, the they. It's this binary thinking where if you rewind the tape and slow it down, you remember that all of us came into this world naked, and that somebody, however imperfectly, woke up in the middle of the night and held us and gave us a bottle, and that these acts of love are why we're here. And so beneath it all, love is your native tongue.
How's this project different for you?
I think it's fair to say it's our most diverse collection of songs. There's 14 songs on the album, and they all really show a wider scope of what we wanted to say musically. As we started narrowing down the list of songs, well, what are the things that are saying musically things that we've never said before, but have maybe always been there, you know? And I think there's a more adventurous spirit to the whole process because of that.
You guys took a bit of a sabbatical prior to.
Yeah, we took a hiatus. Just kind of said, hey, we're going to take a break. We're going to unplug for a little while. And it was so incredible. What an amazing year to just reconnect with family, friends, everyone at home. And I think in an odd way, also reconnect with what we do and the purpose of why we sing and all of this, you know.
If there's any lesson you could take from that time away, what is it?
Anytime you can step outside of something that has become a cycle or a system, I think it allows you to appreciate what's good about it as well as what you'd like to change, you know? And I think one of the beautiful things was kind of discovering how important music is to me, and I know John had that same discovery, and we just found ourselves drawn to the studio to write and create, and it was really life-giving. And so that was kind of our way back in. I think I love it more now than ever, you know?
Almost as if you're beginning again, and as you begin again, what will you change or do differently from that time?
Yeah, so we kind of had a mantra for our time in the studio, and it was to follow the joy. And that joy is an incredible engine. It's an amazing fuel to be running on, because I think many times you're running on fear, you're running on necessity, you're following something just because that's what you've done for a long time. But joy as a fuel it burns clean.
To find a way to use our lungs for love and not the shadows.
Switchfoot's Native Tongue project is available January 18th, and the band is looking to begin its tour next month. Still ahead.
It's like the walls are caving in.
Pop music superstar Shawn Mendes has a secret weapon in the gym.
Do you feel stronger?
Absolutely.
There you go.
And now you can train with him. This trainer's guide to lasting change is next. Welcome back to Studio 5. Our weekly countdown of the best uplifting entertainment headlines continues now. At number 3. Clemson University students celebrate as their Tigers shock #1 Alabama Monday night, rolling over the Crimson Tide with a score of 44-16 to win the NCAA football championship.
I'm feeling amazing. This is my senior year. We've won 2 national championships. I could not be happier to be a Clemson student these past 4 years. We've just been amazing.
Clemson is now the first team to win the college football playoffs with a 15-0 record.
You can't write a Hollywood script like this. Only God can do this. And that's a fact. And people may think I'm crazy or quacky or whatever, but only God can orchestrate this.
At number 2, these are familiar images of Magic Johnson, who's gone from baller to businessman. And now,
man, it's a part of my miracle. Who would have thought Irvin Johnson would be up here doing this?
Preacher? Johnson delivered the New Year's message at his home church in Los Angeles.
But again, we're helping each other get ready for our miracle.
That leaves us with only one more headline in this week's countdown. Be sure to stick around for that #1 coming up in about 5 minutes. The new year often brings a resolution to be healthier, lose weight, get fit, but we know success does not come easy. Celebrity trainer Alec Penix is helping you to crack the code he's seen come to life in some of his more famous clients with this new book, 7 Sundays. That's why he's this week's one to watch. Alec Penix strikes a pose with model good looks, a winning smile, and a strikingly fit physique.
For some of those guys out there that are looking to get a flatter chest, I like to call it a superhero chest.
But getting picture perfect has been quite the journey for this Hollywood trainer who grew up in Michigan. It wasn't a pretty childhood.
It all started around when I was 5 years old. My parents got a divorce. And around the same time, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. And because of that disability, I was bullied a lot in school. You know, kids would call me things like SPED, which means special education. But I was always a positive kid growing up. And I was able to harness that pain that came from those experiences, and I directed it towards working out in sports. And that ultimately transitioned into exercise being a tool to shape my body.
Yeah.
But that led me to be unfulfilled.
You blazed a trail for yourself going from your home to Hollywood, literally with nothing,
right.
sleeping on the floor of a 3-bedroom apartment, saying, I want to be a celebrity trainer. Pop music star Shawn Mendes, Dancing with the Stars Mark Ballas, and actor Carlos Penavega are just a few of the familiar faces on Alec's ever-growing celebrity client list.
I wasn't necessarily somebody who was like completely lost. I had some sense of direction, but I didn't want to just serve myself. I wanted to just make the world a better place.
Take me back to, I guess, that moment where the breakthrough happens. It was sort of at a low point in terms of, was there a wedding party? What happened?
I was in Mexico. I was actually in the wedding party for my clients who I was really close with. But I was down there, we were celebrating, and we were, you know, having a good time. I'll let you read in between the lines, you know? And then the morning, or I should say afternoon, I woke up and I was just lying in bed and I was feeling terrible, but not just in a, I just drank a lot the night before, but in a, there was something missing with me. I say that I was spiritually malnourished. And I would say that was the first time I ever prayed out loud, and I asked God for help. And that's when I heard the voice. At that moment, it changed my life. And God said, Alec, it's time to become the man I've called you to be. And from that very moment, I just was on fire. And then after that happened, I began to see my life change. And then I began to see the people around me change. And that's when I knew there was something special here.
That something special sparked Alec's book, 7 Sundays, A Faith, Fitness, and Food Plan for Lasting Spiritual and Physical Change.
I knew right away that somehow, some way, that once I was saved, not too far after that, I'm like, I feel like a calling of faith and fitness on my life.
Is there a difference you see when your clients make that connection between their faith and fitness? Do you see something happen in them?
Yes. I think that with our faith, it gives you this deeper introspection of yourself. It gives you this awareness that once was shoved away into abyss because you don't want to deal with it. And then once you start dealing with it, there's this initial phase that happens where it's hard. You start seeing some of the wounds and start seeing some of the healing that needs to take place. And that's where we really have to lean on our faith to get us through those moments. But once you get on the other side of that, you see such a reward and you see a change and you see the fruit of it in your life that you could never imagine.
7 Sundays is available right now wherever you purchase your books. In just a moment.
Who's here? Now I have lots of new friends.
See how the first feel-good film of the year saves the life of this 4-legged star. Meet Shelby next. And welcome back to Studio 5. We have made it to the final headline in this week's countdown. At number 1.
Hi, I'm Chance, and T is for theater.
That's Chance the Rapper, making a guest appearance on Sesame Street. The artist is also celebrating the new year free from his smoking habit after spending some time away studying the Bible.
I want you to understand that the gospel message I preach is not based on mere human reasoning.
Sharing some of his study on social media, Chance announced he'd kicked his smoking habit on Instagram, sharing this passage from Ephesians. All glory to God, who is able through his mighty power to work within us to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think.
Cookie! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! Nom nom! Oh nom nom! Oh nom nom! Nom nom!
That wraps this week's countdown and brings us to what's new on the big screen. In A Dog's Way Home, Bella makes a 400-mile journey home after being separated from her owner. We begin this Studio 5 first look, meeting the dog who plays Bella and the voice behind Bella's story.
I'm Bryce Dallas Howard, and I am the voice of Bella in the new movie, A Dog's Way Home. This is the story of the extraordinary lengths a dog will go to in order to get back to their family. Of course, the dog who played Bella would have to be a rescue. We discovered Shelby at a shelter in Tennessee where she had been living in a junkyard. Immediately, you could tell that Shelby was going to take us on an amazing journey. She's incredibly spirited, affectionate, and bright. We found our Bella, and she had no idea how much her life was going to change. Since filming, she's become a therapy dog and knows this is her new purpose, to take care of people and to make them feel loved. There's one thing I know about the world. It's not the little things that matter. It's the tiny things.
Oh, do you want a tiny piece of cheese?
Yes, yes! Cheese is my life! My name is Bella, and this is how I met Lucas.
She does seem to really like you. Maybe that's a sign her home's supposed to be with me. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom! We played ball, and we played Don't Choose Shoes.
Bella, don't choose shoes.
That one was his favorite. Over the years, we did everything together.
Good girl.
We chased squirrels. We went to work. We even played a game called Doctor.
Doctor! Dr. Gann. Hey, Dr. Gann.
Everything all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life with Lucas was the best, but when he wasn't around, I missed him so much. It's that squirrel again. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel! Bella!
There's the doc. It looks like she needs help. I can't tell where the journey will end.
I was very far from home, but I knew Lucas was waiting for me, and I had to go and find him.
So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm...
Oh, look! A snack! Even better than a tiny piece of cheese. We all face things that are hard. The only thing that gets us through it are the special people in our lives, and I was never going to stop searching until I found mine.
That dog saved his life.
I didn't know I was lost. I didn't know I was lost. Didn't know I was lost.
A Dog's Way Home is in American theaters Friday, January 11th. Now, the tune you heard at the end of that story is recording artist Alec Penix's Wake Me Up, and his voice can also be heard in the film Green Book, which took home 3 Golden Globes just this week. His voice is what's playing in my ear this week as well. Here's Alec Penix and I Count on Me from the Green Book soundtrack.
When I look around, all that I can see is people trying to shift the blame. When I look around, yeah, it's clear to me, something about me ain't the same. Some people are cold, selling their soul. I don't wanna be that way. Take a look around, take a look at me. I ain't never gonna change, 'cause I know what I believe.
And still to come.
And I hate to say I love you.
Anthony Evans peels back the layers to uncover a life-changing truth. We are back here in Studio 5, and as we wind down this show, here's a look at this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. She's back. That's baby Chunko, the 1-year-old whose amazing hair went viral in videos and photos about 8 months ago. That cute baby and her mane are back making the rounds again, but now she's a full-blown hair model, starring in a new ad for a shampoo. And she is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. And with that snapshot now in the books, it is time to look ahead at what we're working to bring you next week. Heavens are indeed open in the life of recording artist Miranda Curtis.
You did not grow up in church?
But her road to worship leader is anything but routine.
Sundays we were at home or on the beach and in Florida.
She takes us from Sunday mornings on the beach to days and nights on the gospel stage.
There's a river of miracles flowing.
We're bringing you that story and so much more next week. Now, as for the final word for this show, we're turning to recording artist Anthony Evans.
In my life, a lot of times, I like to roll around in whatever it is, whatever issues I may be dealing with, but I don't want God to come in and stir up those issues. I want them just clean. Yeah. Like, I don't want him to stir them up. I'm just like, can you deal with this? And a lot of times in our lives, we have to be willing to allow those issues to come to the surface to be actually dealt with. And I didn't do that for a long time. Just to go back to The Voice, one of the lessons I learned while sitting down with Christina Aguilera and Jewel, and this wasn't ever aired, but Jewel said the audience can smell a rat. And she's talking about just a general audience, but that was speaking to me. She was like, the audience can smell a rat. If you're not being genuine, if you're not being who you authentically are with them, they'll be like, no, I'm not dealing with you. And I feel like a lot of times in Christendom, and in my life, I'll speak about me, I was pushing things down so much to where I wasn't being genuine from the stage, and people weren't connecting with me because I was just a singer at that point. I had to be willing to stir up the stuff and get to work on getting that cleaned out.
Anthony Evans, no surprise, that is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5. Until next time, make time to uplift someone else, and then come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.